appear in my individual capacity. I'm here to talk about the constitutionality and the legality of mandates. We're focusing on mask and vaccine mandates, but of course the issue is much broader. The issue raises the core principle of our system of government, and that is freedom. Unfortunately, analyzing these issues is not as simple as it may appear. Addressing constitutionality and legality requires at least 3 separate analyses. First, what does...
Mr. Steinbuch, would you pull the mic closer, please?
Yes, sir. What does the relevant laws say? That is, what do the state and federal constitutions say? What do statutes say? Second, what do the judicial precedents say, as they are not always consistent with the plain wording of constitutions as well as statutes? And whether or not you believe that precedents should have legal force, courts typically do. So as a positive analysis of law requires this evaluation. And third and finally, what is the effect of politics on judicial interpretations? Here in Arkansas, politics often overwhelms judicial opinions. It shouldn't, but if we're analyzing the real-world effect of the law, we must evaluate what judges actually do. Let me begin by saying that I know some like to talk about the science of vaccines and masks as a legal, I'll put in quotes, basis to impose their preferences on an allegedly free people. And let me further make clear that I like vaccines. I was one of the earliest recipients of the vaccine here in Arkansas, and I often wear a mask, a real mask, an N95 mask, not the virtue signaling origami devices that are the fashion statements of the Hillcrest literati you like. The team that decided whether I was vaccinated is the team of me. No other team decided that. The team that decided who I vote for is the team of me. The team that decides how I live my life is the team of me. I recognize the importance of individual autonomy. We used to refer to this constitutional concept as civil liberties, and the left was once the vanguard defending civil liberties. No longer that's the case, unfortunately. To some, science supports mandating masks and vaccines, but somehow science doesn't support that fetuses are alive. To some, science supports mandating masks and vaccines, but somehow science doesn't support enforcing our borders as a means to reduce the inflow of COVID. To some, science supports mandating masks and vaccines, but somehow science doesn't support dispersing anti-police mobs to reduce the spread of COVID. To some, science supports mandating masks and vaccines, but somehow science doesn't support the notion that there are biological differences between men and women. To have the discussion about the constitutionality and legality of mandates, we need to address how the law operates when judges and the executive branch uses it as a tool for their political agendas. Let's reflect on what has happened recently. The United States Supreme Court said that it's unconstitutional to mandate an eviction moratorium on landlords. President Biden initially accepted this, but when faced with a backlash from the woke left, he reissued an indisputably unconstitutional mandate. That's not law, that's politics. But that's what passes for law these days. When our governor issued a mask mandate last year, which necessarily included orders to counties and courts, some said the governor's actions were illegal and sued. The result was Judge Wendell Griffin said the governor's mandate was legal. Judge Griffin said that the governor's actions were consistent with the state statute and state and federal constitutions, and of course the outcome resulted in a mandate that affected courts and affected counties. The outcome was also consistent with Judge Griffin's political preferences. Let's fast forward to recently. As you know, this legislature passed a law, Senator Garner's law, that makes masks and vaccines, prohibits the mandating of masks and vaccines in public entities, including counties and courts. The same way the mandate that required it several months prior mandated. Moreover, this mandate was fully passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. In other words, it wasn't an executive order. It wasn't some form of law light. It was 100% certified Angus law. There's no greater reflection of the democratic process enshrined in the Constitution than those laws enacted by this body and signed by the governor. So what happened next? Judge Tim Fox, a political partisan who wears a judicial robe, said that this mandate for freedom, this mandate that protects civil liberties, violates the powers reserved in the Arkansas Constitution to counties and courts. Think about that. This mandate violated the rights of counties and courts, but the mandate that told counties and courts you must wear masks, no violation. What's the common denominator? Politics, not law.